And I'm back, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and fleas. I don't know how that goes. Anyways, I'm back. I'm just compelled to keep going. I popped the cork of pontification to a camera and a microphone, and now I'm unstoppable. Somebody stop me! No, really, I had something I wanted to say I forgot about. It's always too much. Look at it. See the blood? Blood. Ooh, it's dry. There you go. That's from a nick. Just nicked myself. That much blood. Kind of funny, right? Anyways. Common sense, right? Alright, anyways. Found an article. Can't say where. I don't want to offend anybody because it's propaganda. Everything's propaganda now. The Democrats, the Republicans, the Russians. It's all propaganda. It's all propaganda. Yeah, it is all propaganda. But it's worth listening to as you acknowledge all of it is propaganda. But you can pull out some of the seeds of truth because they're trying to say some shit, So, anyways, I wanted to talk about this because we got to figure out what's happening with these Jews. I don't know if you could say the word Jews. Let's change the word. The Jays. We'll call them the Jays. The Jays. Don't want to get accidentally banned here from the tubes. So we'll call them the Jays. We have to have a code word because we do not have free speech. Let's set that sink in again. In America, we're supposed to have the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10. The Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments, which is the rights that they call them negative suppositions or something, that or negative enforcement. These are the rights that the government shall not infringe upon, shall not touch. And I think the first one is freedom of speech, right? If we can't have discourse, if we can't talk, then what do we have? Violence. Once you remove someone's ability to have a voice and say their truth and speak their mind, whether it's in a relationship or at work or whatever, and you silence somebody, it's a recipe for disaster. So YouTube, or I should say the tubes, is great about that. Same with social media. And it's partly why we have the problem we have today, which is, again, why we're hurtling towards God's big reset. So anyways, that out of the way, we all know there's no freedom of speech, really, especially when you start telling the truth. But whatever. Anyways, this is an article written by, I guess I'll say, RT. But they usually get their articles from somewhere else, or the mainstream. They just put it on their platform, so. Alright, but this is something I wanted to read because it was pretty good. And it's going to fill in the gaps about the J's here, which the T, the big Trucifer, completely supports and is allegiant to, okay? Here we go. What the top UN court's ruling means for Israel. Isis, Ra, sun god Amen Ra, and El, Saturn, the black sun. See, these are 3 dots every one of you should dig into for several hours, okay? Isis, or Isil, or Queen Semiramis, or I forgot the rest of Isis. It's old. Look up the origins of Isis. Then Ra, the sun god Ra, the Egyptian sun god Ra. Amen Ra is where we get the word Amen, is Amen Ra. And then El, elected, electricity, elite, the elevated. Okay? Saturn, the black sun. El, Saturn, Satan. Saturn day, Sunday. If you don't have these dots, you lose the magic of what's really happening. You lose a big part of the story. All right. Though non-binding, the ICJ's rulings on the ongoing Gaza massacre strip away the Jewish state's ability to obfuscate its crimes. The 15 judges of the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, the International Court of Justice. That sounds pretty epic and powerful and amazing, right? I don't know who that is, though, but they're here. The ICJ, the highest judicial organ. Organ like what? Musical organ or like reproductive organ? Like heart or stomach? What do they call it an organ? Probably because you need it. You need it to survive, so... It's going to be the highest judicial organ of the United Nations, which, we know they're pretty evil, but there's obviously some level of balanced playing field going on for it to even exist, so there's that. Anyways, the highest judicial organ of the United Nations have issued what everyone agrees is a landmark finding. Legal consequences arising from the policies and practices of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, which I'm pretty sure Donald Trump was just there recently or in the last 8 years conducting rebuilding and shekels and, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Is in essence a devastating condemnation of Israel's policies and crimes in the territories which it conquered more than half a century ago. So 50 years ago, Israel conquered some stuff, probably the Palestinian dirt, as a consequence of the Six-Day War in 1967, which it still holds today. So evidently in 67 there was a Six-Day War where Israel stole a bunch of Palestinian land after their Jewish messiah, Hitler, one of their messiahs. Hitler helped them, I shouldn't call him, I should call him H. H, big H. Anyways, the ICJ finding also inevitably means, whether the judges intended or not, that not only Israel, I should call it Izel. I'm going to call him Izel. That way I don't get banned, just in case. Not only Israel's policy in these specific territories, but the Zionists. Can I even say that word? Jeez, I'm so scared. Fuck, man. The Zionist. The Zenonist. There we go. But the Zenonist project, as such, is based on the irreparable injustice of violently depriving the Palestinians of their inalienable right to national self-determination. Make no mistake, this is not merely a blow to the crimes of Israel, occupation, and annexation. It calls into question the foundations of Israel as a state, as it is built around the systematic defiance of just law and elementary ethics. This is a very large condemnation by a very high group of authorities, whether you believe them or not, like them or not. I really don't think they're good people, but they are the authority as it sits, as it is right now. And these people are supposedly bound to it and listen to it. So, anyways, this ICJ, International Court of Justice, the biggest organ of the United Nations, says that Israel, who they are, the J's, it calls into question the foundations of the Israel state, as it is built around systematic defiance of just law and elementary ethics. Are these the real chosen people? Are these the real good guys? Does this sound like holy people to you? I think there's a masquerade going on. I think there's a bunch of false Isles and J's running around claiming to be God's people, and they're a cult. David Icke says best, there's no J bloodline you can trace. It's all those people in the Middle East are all related. They're all cousins, and they're all murdering each other. It's wonderful. It's great. All murder, all guts, all fun. One feature enhancing the impact of the ICJ finding is its comprehensiveness. The 80-page document is the outcome of a long and thorough process that started in late 2022, and the General Assembly of the UN requested that known as the advisory opinion. Detailed and closely argued, the findings are based, among other things, on the combined expertise of some of the best jurists in the world in hearings that involved almost 60 states. Well, that's a lot. Israel, clearly aware that its position was less than promising and generally contemptuous of international law, shunned the opportunity to state its case. Wow. So they didn't even show up. They didn't even show up to stand their ground and save face and say their piece, which adds to the absurdity of its current rage over the result. However, while similarly meticulous legal assessments tend to generate complicated outcomes, this is not the case here, as is well acknowledged. The findings are devastating for Israel, and at least the legal terms, a clearly triumph for the Palestinians and the Palestine. Wow. In the words of Erica Guerrero-Gravis, who's Senior Director for Research, Advocacy Policy Committee at MSD of the International, the conclusion is loud and clear. The ICJ has recognized without qualifications that Israel's holding of territories it seized during the Six-Day War, including East Jerusalem, which Israel has officially through unlawfully annexed, am I yelling, and the West Bank, which it pretends to occupy but is really annexing, is illegal and needs to end ASAP. That's a lot, man. That's saying a lot. That's saying a lot of what the Israel's Jays are doing is completely out of line with international law, regulation, rules, and general morality of humanity. Don't sound like the good guys. Sound like they just want their fucking dirt at all costs. This is our dirt. It's not even our dirt. We're just claiming it because our secret club is taking the J name. And we want this fucking dirt, and we're allowed to have it. We're going to fucking just do what we want. You guys just have to do it because America and Trucifer are going to help out amongst other people. In particular, the ICJ made it clear that the settlement must cease, and that the settlers already on these territories must leave. The decision alone means that between 700,000 and 750 Israeli illegals here, that term is for one exact correct, should not be where they are. Wow. It's like your neighbor kicks down your fence and moves all their stuff into your backyard. You're like, dude, this is my backyard. Like, no, it's ours. And then the police come up, no, it's actually not your backyard. Move your stuff. You're like, no, we claim it. It's ours. Nothing you can do. We're promised this from a book that we found and a couple thousand years ago, and you know what? It's ours, and we're not going to leave. We're going to fight. We want dirt. We want the dirt. We need dirt. Dirt is what we live for. Dirt. I need dirt. More dirt. Dirt. I need dirt. Dirt. Anyways. Here we go. So what did I do? Oh. That's correct. There. Should not be where they are. Not only do all of them have to leave the over 100 settlements they never had a right to establish, the Israel state has an obligation to evacuate them. Moreover, Israel's expropriations of land are also illegal. That is, simply put, theft. The ICJ has ordered it return what it has stolen. That is, tens of thousands of acres. So the Jays have stolen tens of thousands of acres from the Palestinians. They had no right to, and they got to return them. This is what the court has found. But how do you fight a government and people with nuclear weapons and guns? They kind of de facto have it. The Israel state, of course, deeply implicated in the illegal acts of the ICJ, has ordered it to stop and even reverse. Israel's allowing policies of incentivizing its J citizens, including the de facto colonial settlers from anywhere in the world, to move into the illegally held territories and steal Palestinian land and resources. It's fundamentally criminal, among other reasons, because it is inconsistent with international law, particularly the humanitarian enshrined in the Geneva Conventions. Regarding the Gaza Strip, long a de facto concentration camp, thank you. Just repeat. The Gaza Strip, long a de facto concentration camp for its Palestinian inhabitants, and since October 2023, the site of Israel's ongoing genocidal massacre against them. I mean, this is why the world's going to end, guys. It's just out of control. Everything's upside down and broken and fucking just a mess and murder and celebration and dancing. And it's just the devil's world. It's really sad, man. I don't know how we all got here or why we're dealing with it. You know, we all came into a shit show, but it's murder, dude. What if you were in a Gaza Strip camp like that? Would you like it? I know I wouldn't. What if you were born there? You wouldn't know any different. You would live and die there. What a miserable life. It'd be, God's grace. You're able to watch this video from your air conditioning. Anyways, where'd it go? De facto genocidal massacre. The ICJ has clearly rejected the all too frequently heard Israel argument that its forces retreated from it in 2005. In reality, as honest legal experts have long maintained, and the ICJ now has confirmed explicitly, Israel has always exerted so much stifling control over this area that it has remained an occupying power. And with all the attendant obligations, whether its forces were on the ground inside the Gaza Strip or abusing its inhabitants while stationed around it. The ICJ also clarified the issue of apartheid. As should be well known, apartheid is a recognized crime under international law. It is not merely a name for one specific criminal regime once practiced in South Africa. Interesting. Under, for instance, the Rome Statute of International Criminal Court. Not to be confused with the ICJ, the crime of apartheid is defined as a crime against humanity. All right. Apartheid just sounds nicer than saying crime against humanity, but I prefer crime against humanity. Like I prefer the word slave versus citizen or taxpayer. Akin to, for instance, murder, extermination, enslavement, or torture. So yeah, apartheid is that bad, and that's what the Israelis are doing. Also, according to the Rome Statute, what makes apartheid special is that it is an institutionalized regime of systematic oppression and domination by one racial group over any other racial group or groups as committed with the intention of maintaining that regime. So kind of apartheid is genocide, really, if you get down to it. Simply put, apartheid is literally one of the worst crimes a regime and the people supporting and working for it can possibly commit. So the Jays, Trucifer, Cyrus the Great, who's helping, America helping these Jays. Put simply, apartheid is literally one of the worst crimes a regime and the people supporting and working for it can possibly commit. I'm yelling in the microphone. Oops. In the case of Israel's, based on biased experts and various human rights organizations that have long argued that it is committing this crime as well. The ICJ has addressed this issue, noting arguments that Israel's policies and practices in occupied Palestinian territory amount to segregation or apartheid in breach of Article 3 of the CERD, blah, 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 is convention and elimination of all forms of racial discrimination. Wow, that's CERD. Article 3 of the CERD imposes the state's duty not only to condemn racial segregation and apartheid, but also undertake to prevent, prohibit, and eradicate practices of the nature of territories. Yeah, it is concluded that it is by legislation and measures, it is really by everything it does as a state is in breach of this key provision. Man, it's just condemning. Israel's is in sum a state practicing the crime against humanity of apartheid. Listen, guys, this is straight up. I mean, this is just what is. It's not left or right. These are just the facts. Now, if you prescribe to a left or right and you want to make this your left or right, I don't see it as a left or right. I don't give a fuck. I'm past that. I'm just like, what is the what is about it? And this is the what is. This sounds pretty legit to me. Whether I like these jackasses who are saying it or not, they're saying something that is the truth. truth is truth. Even a liar can say truth. Let's say it again. The Jays, in sum, a state practicing the crime against humanity of apartheid, de facto annexation, and settling territories. Did I get that? Okay, yeah. Practicing crime against humanity of apartheid, de facto annexing and settling territories it has no conceivable legal claim on, and systematically denying a whole nation, the Palestinians, their right to self-determination. The court has also finished off any pretense that Israel can justify its continuing pervasive criminality by allegedly security needs. Yeah. These are only some of the ICJ's key findings. Other concerns, Palestinian rights to restitution, return, and reparations, for instance. For anyone even vaguely familiar with how Israel's state operates, it is obvious that these ICJ findings have declared its core principles illegal as they are. Many states, at least those with enough power, break international law, some quite habitually, the U.S., for instance. Some only occasionally. Israel's, however, is special by virtue of its own freely chosen policy, is informed by the nationalist ideology of supremacy and colonial settlement, has made breaking international law its reason of state. Without it, it's had hard to even imagine how it can continue. Note, in this respect, that its Minister of Defense and its Prime Minister are on the verge of having warrants issued against them for crimes against humanity, for war crimes by the International Criminal Court, while the ICJ has already found that genocide is a plausible possibility in Gaza, and since Israel has brutally disregarded all its jurisdictions, will most likely confirm that finding in a final judgment in the not-too-distant future. One thing the ICJ finding inform us is that Palestinians have a right to armed resistance under international law. Another thing that follows is that many things that Israel's and its Western backers pretend are up for negotiation are not. Palestinians have a right to get their land back. Israel has no right to use it in any way, not even as a bargaining chip. A third thing also follows, but from Israel's response, the whole Israel's political spectrum, not only Prime Minister Netanyahu and the other extremists in his cabinet have rejected the ICJ findings. Hence the illusion that the problem with Israel is just a few race radicals in power must be buried once and for all. Unfortunately, its delusions of domination and supremacy are widespread throughout the political sphere and its society. Israel is the worst rogue state in the world and also a dead end. For that, it cannot, as its elites usually do, blame external enemies or anti-Semitism. In reality, its own arrogance and outrageous violence against the Palestinians and its neighbors are to blame. Well, this is a long article, jeez. You might have to go read it yourselves. It's out there. I think that basically covers it. I mean, man. I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts, if you have them. If you have any deep thoughts, preferably you've done some homework, looked into it, and that way you can't just knee-jerk reaction from what the TV has told you. Again, this podcast is not about the TV. That's some first, second, it's not even second, it's just first veil shit. The TV never even talks about second veil stuff. Think about that. Think about that, guys. Here we go. Let's do the final paragraph here. Ultimately, the single most important result of these ICJ findings has to do with the enormous role that systematic obfuscation, in plain language, lying, plays for the Israel's regime and its society. All those who have long named Israel's systemic crimes and called for resistance to them, whether outside or inside Palestine, now have in effect the highest court in the world on their side. There is no more room for debate about what Israel is doing, and once it's been settled, there is no argument left for defending it. The ICJ findings won't suddenly change the world, but when the world does change, they will have played an important role. Wow. Very well done, man. Very well done. All right. They got a Netanyahu speech coming up. Interesting. There we go. Trump says he took a bullet for democracy. The Republican frontrunner addressed a Michigan crowd at his first rally since the last week's assassination attempt. Here we go. Former U.S. President Republican nominee Donald Trump addressed a crowd of supporters swing state, said in his newly announced running mate J.D. Vance, JDV, instead of JCVD. JCVD. It's JDV. This Saturday, when Trump's first public campaign is last week, Philly shot. Oh, here we go. He narrowly avoided getting fatally shot in the head. We like to use that verbiage just like in the Bible. We like to always use the same stuff. That way y'all can get confused, say it can't be that easy. But it is. The gunman's bullets in the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania grazed the candidate's ear. At least that's how it looked for us. And we're just going to keep going with it, folks. And hit the crowd behind him. I didn't notice that. They didn't seem to notice that either. If you rewatch it, they don't seem to notice they got shot. They just realized, they're like, oh, look at our leader. Killing one person, injuring two others. But again, you can't really notice that, but you just got to trust us. Michigan is one of several pivotal battlegrounds. What's he say? Here we go. Here's what he says. Here's what he says.
They keep saying, he's a threat to democracy. I'm saying, what the hell did I do for democracy? Last week, I took a bullet for democracy. What did I do against democracy?
That's what he said. You heard him right there, folks. That's what he said. They keep saying he's a threat to democracy. What the hell did I do to democracy? Last week I took a bullet for democracy. Democracy. I wish I could put that up on the screen. It's majority rule, minority lose. Two wolves and one sheep deciding what to have for dinner. Democracy basically might actually be the worst form of government. Actually. They keep saying he's a threat to democracy. I'm saying, what the hell did I do for democracy? Last week I took a bullet for democracy. Took a bullet for democracy. That's horrible, man. I care not who cast the vote. It matters who count the vote. Again, folks. If there's a democracy, the entire people of the block can get together and say, hey, we want your house to be painted pink. We're going to take a vote. Everyone on the street has a say. And we vote. And 90%, 51% say your house is pink. Guess what? Your house is pink. How about they say, let's castrate you. 51%, guess what? You get castrated. Now, in a democratic republic, we say no. You can't vote on castrating me. So, you can't vote on it. It's not for grabs. So, they've been fooling the first veilers this whole time that all there is a democracy here. It's just an innocent, simple little democracy. A little democracy never hurt no one. A little democracy never messed no one's lives up. A little democracy never done no evil. You know, so it's the worst form of government, guys. We are, I pledge allegiance to the flag, the republic for which it stands. Republic for which it stands. Republic for which it stands. We are a democratic republic. And any politician that says democracy can burn in fucking hell. Anytime they say that, I know they're in the evil camp, the lying camp, because they don't say republic. Very few dudes. Anytime they do, I always freak out. I'm like, did someone actually say republic? They always say democracy. Because they're convincing you all this is a corporate government where they do vote on everything. Your uniform is blue. Your pants go to your kneecaps. Your hair must be combed. You cannot have blue hair. You can have no tattoos, no piercings. You know, you cannot wear black. You cannot fucking show up at this time. That's corporation. Corporation is not a republic. It is a de facto dictatorship, but they do pretend they vote. So corporations can be democratic at times when they're not being fascist. But what we have now, folks, is a fascist United States corporation that we are all been slave under since 1871, and none of us are alive to remember it any other way, so it's just the way it is, just like a lot of people who don't remember life before 9/11. It was a better, funner, more cool, groovy America life, man. And it's gone downhill ever since and been a shit show ever since. And most people don't remember. We've just been slowly cooking the pot, and the pot is boiling. And now we got the beast I want to stop trying to call him the antichrist because I got to read that verse, see if it can pop back in. But he's definitely the first beast. At least it appears that way, folks. So again, that's why I'm making these videos. I just got to say what I see, and my dots are saying. Take it easy.